triggering change one heartbeat at a time. Battle for Freedom. Hello everyone, I'm your host Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo Fiber Radio, and I appreciate every last one of you as we get into another broadcast this week. A lot of crazy things going on, but you know what? The only crazy thing that I would probably say affecting you today is if you did not start your day off with American Pride Roasters coffee. This is the official coffee of Mojo Fiber Radio, but it's also historically great coffee. Mojo Fiber Radio has been proud to have a relationship with Dave and team with American Pride Roasters coffee for a few years now. And you know what? They're historically great. There's a great story that comes along every bag, every batch, everything that you enjoy. If you're not starting off your day or enjoying your afternoon or closing your evening on a cup of American Pride Roasters coffee, something is wrong with you. It really is. I appreciate you joining. And not only do we have American Pride Roasters coffee, we also have New Life Holistic. I want you to take a listen to this. I don't know what you've been going through, but I'm certain that you're tired of the useless systems you've been wasting on money for therapy. Contact New Life Holistics by going to newlifeholistics.com right now. Give them the code MOJO50 and save $50 on your first session. Biofeedback may be the one solution that can help you. Try New Life Holistics today. Yes, New Life Holistic today. Let them know that Watson from Battle for Freedom sent you. If you want to interact, go to facebook.com/Battle for Freedom. And you can basically leave a comment there. I see Curtis, Josh, and Jill, and Sarah. Thank you for being part of the program. As we talk about indebted or indentured profiling service and loyalty. Indebted or indentured profiling service and loyalty. So before we get into this, well, I guess this can kind of go into this because of the fact that, there's another mass shooting, actually several that took place this weekend, a lot under this presidency, which is very questionable, especially when they want to have so much anti-gun legislation and limit the ability of people to protect themselves, American citizens. A lot of people think no one should have guns. Well, we will actually deal with that another time. But I came up with this meme over the weekend, and this is the reason why. Hey, Carolyn, thanks for joining. I said, what if I were to tell you that the Supreme Court leak that is sparking nationwide protests during a growing outbreak and election season is almost 2 years after the death of George Floyd that sparked nationwide protests during a growing outbreak and election season? Cueing the rage hashtag. The reason why I share this with you is because, and then we just have these mass shootings. We have not just one, but several of them, and it's whites targeting blacks. Whites targeting blacks. And there's another image that I worked on, and yeah, forgive me on my image play, but this is just very interesting because I've seen this meme before, and I love this meme. It's great. It's hilarious. As we look at the idea of them cueing rage, inflation, immigration, this administration, and BLM revelations is it's supposed to be saying making us lose the black vote. Hashtag bring out the white supremacist mass shooter. See, as we sit here, we look at this, you have to understand that a lot of this is going on. And as I talked about this with friends and family, and we had some really good discussions over the weekend about this, so that when you look at some of this information, let me go to one of the comments from Yug. As Yug was sharing this data, and he was just sharing about the whole idea that, you have all these people. Okay, so there was a shooting in Chicago. Here's what we know about shootings near the Deer District. This was actually in Chicago. This was Water Street in Milwaukee last night. Let's see. At least 21 people were shot and injured on Friday night At least 21 people were injured and shot on Friday night in downtown Milwaukee in multiple shootings following the Milwaukee Bucks playoff game. Police have several suspects in custody. All the victims survived. Mayor Cavalier Johnson imposed a curfew on downtown entertainment district that will last through Sunday night, May 15th. But thanks for joining, Heidi. But why is there no revelations? There's no breakdown of all the suspects in this one, but the white guy who had the N-word printed on his rifle and the name of a victim listed that he tweeted a post about from the Milwaukee disaster where the black guy in the truck mows down and kills people. See, we can't focus on that person, but this guy, who it's very interesting how we quickly had all the information. We had all the information on this white shooter who killed 10 people with N-word on his rifle. We had everything you needed to know about him within 2 hours of the shooting. This is too good. Whereas when it's a black shooter, it's a day or two before we even know it was a black shooter. See, this right here, when I sit here talking about being indentured servants and everything like that, when I talk about being indebted or even indebted or indentured and profiling service and loyalty, the service and loyalty is to the truth. The service and loyalty is to the truth. But that wasn't the only one. That wasn't the only one, because there was another one here. That was in Milwaukee. So let's go to the other one that was shared to me by Yug. Here you go. Shooting skyrocketed in Buffalo so far in 2021. Gun violence in Buffalo. So that's where you actually had the shooting that was taking place. But there was another one that he had given to me. Buffalo shooting. Yeah, Buffalo shootings at skyrocketed. Let's actually stay with that one first that he had given me. So this is from BuffaloNews.com. Gun violence in Buffalo and across the nation has surged in 2020. It's even worse here so far this year. The number of people shot in Buffalo over the first 2 months of the year has jumped 140% compared to the same time last year, according to Buffalo Police Department data. This year's total is more than double the average of January and February over the past decade. According to Buffalo News analysts and department data, a flood of guns onto Buffalo streets is a key driver of the increase, said James Giles, coordinator of the coalition of anti-violence organizations known as Buffalo Peacemakers. And he says it has been a variety of things contributing. There's no one thing going on here. The only common factor is the fact that everybody's got access to these weapons. And in January and February, 53 people were either wounded or killed in shootings in the city. And over the same period last year, the number was 22, which was 2021, or no, actually, and in 2019, it was 16. The number of people shot and killed. So the data was out there that this is what was happening, and this article, this was written last March. This was written last March. This is more than a year. This is 14 months. Almost 14 months prior to the shooting this weekend. Did we see these numbers before? Did we hear about the 22 or 16 or 19 people who've been shot and killed in Buffalo? But a white shooter taking out. See, there's two people. There's two people that this thing really affects here, in terms of their allegiance and loyalty to the truth. Thank you to Heidi for joining. The idea that, one, it's the news organizations that refuse to basically give you the facts and nothing but the facts, and allow people to translate the data and go from there. Then there's the actual target audience of who they're trying to hit right now, because the idea is, and again, I go to the idea that you have all these abortion protests. It's going to be fine for all these people who are protesting. It's going to be fine for all these people who are breaking the law by going to protesting in front of the Supreme Court, and even worse, protesting in front of the homes of these justices. Every last one of them should be in jail. As they're saying that a new thing is on the way, right in time for election season, and all the people who are out on the street are going to be perfectly fine having their cup of tea while they're breaking windows and disrupting the peace. There's no commitment to truth. And the worst part about it is the people who are out on the streets breaking the windows and disrupting the peace, they have zero allegiance to anyone but themselves, to their color, to their gender, to their political affiliations, whether it's right, left, middle, or wacky, it doesn't matter. And we're sitting here and we're watching this thing where there is zero loyalty to the truth, to honesty, to the full story, so we can make sure what's going on. Because the shootings in Buffalo, the shootings, not only the shooting in Buffalo, let's see, where's the other one that was given to me by Yug? There's one more. I want to bring this up. The shootings that were given in Buffalo, the shootings that we saw in Milwaukee, and I'm even going to take it even further. I'm going to even go to the idea of the shootings that are in Chicago. This is what I got from Yug today. Chicago shootings. This was early this morning, 6:53, just before the show began. Long before the show began, depending on what time you're listening to this. 33 shot, 5 fatally in weekend violence, Chicago shootings. At least 33 people have been shot, 5 fatally in weekend violence across Chicago. The youngest homicide victim was 16-year-old boy shot Saturday evening near the Bean statue in the Loop, leading Mayor Lightfoot to impose a curfew for unaccompanied minors on weekends at Millennium Park. We can't talk about that though, right? We can't have that. We can't have that discussion, can we? Because if we're going to have this honest discussion, because right now there are a lot of incensed people. They just showed the faces of 9 black people who were dead in the shootings in Buffalo. 9 black people dead. These are George Floyd's 2022. I'm not trying to diminish their lives. I'm not trying to diminish anything here. But what I'm trying to say is there is this unadulterated allegiance to being manipulated and driven away from the truth and driven from the true conversation that needs to happen. It's not the color of the shooter. It's not the gender of the shooter. It's not even the religion of the shooter. It is the reality, and because I say this, and for those of you who are atheists or you've left the church because you don't want that kind of accountability, fine. But this is for the people who call themselves Christians. These are for the people who have been in positions of leadership in church. These are the people who've actually been in church and actually taught classes, whether Sunday school or Bible study or kids' church or whatever it is. And you sit here and you believe that the Word of God is the truth. That the Word of God is the truth, but for some strange reason right now, you shuck that to the side because of the fact that what's important right now is your color, your gender, or something like that else being represented. So you will disrupt the peace. You'll be angry. You will be manipulated into now cursing whites again. I had a friend share with me a very, very sad story where he was in a meeting with a bunch of men, primarily black. I don't know if there were any whites that were in the meeting. And this was a gathering with Christians. And it was a racist person speaking during the encounter. And one person said, "I hate white people." Older black gentleman said, "I hate white people." And it was never corrected. My friend was corrected, but the situation was never corrected. This is happening in a church. This is in a setting where men are supposed to lift one another up. Ephesians 4:11 and 12 talks about people have been given roles, whether you're evangelists, you're pastors, you're leaders, or whatever it is, but you've been given this role and responsibility to lift up the body of Christ. Did you hear that? The body of Christ. Actually, who is that? That's the bride of Christ. The people are supposed to be his representation, his ambassadors on earth. Not lift up black people, not lift up gay people, not lift up whites or women or whoever it is. It's about lifting up the body of Christ, the body of people who were ambassadors and representatives of the person who died for them. But for some strange reason, the wokeness that's choking the authenticity of Christianity in the world is nothing but lifting up brokenness in every individual and not allowing them to really truly be awake. Last week I told you about the whole idea of, the woke, people getting tired, about millennials getting tired about the message of, being woke and everything like that. What is it? Some of these major businesses are shutting down. Oh, what is it, in Twitter? Your message about being woke? Bye. Leave. It's not the only business. There are many other businesses that are basically shutting down and saying, we're not tolerating this anymore. We gave you room, you had your platform, but now it's time for us to move on. It's time for us to move on. You've used corporate America long enough for your platform. Now we've been losing money. We've been losing time. It's very interesting. As we sit here, we're watching this. People are being manipulated. People are being manipulated. I want to go over a couple of the terms for you as we sit here and we try and understand this. I pulled them from Merriam-Webster Dictionary because of the fact that I just love going there. It's a great place, a bastion of truth when it's not woke. And not going to lie to you, this is very interesting as we look at this in here. So let's go into the word indebted. Let's look at the dictionary term for that. I'm going to go full screen so you can see this. Indebted, an adjective, owing gratitude or recognition to another. Owing gratitude or recognition to another, or basically owing money, right? And then I want to go to the other one, which is the idea of indentured. Indentured, required by contract to work for another for a certain period of time. Required by contract to work for another for a certain period of time. See, in America, there's this American dream, there's this American spirit that kind of conveys the idea and the concept of what it means to be blessed and lived in this country, and duty, honor, integrity. These terms that we ascribe into almost every aspect and every facet of society, the way we function, the way we do things, the way we communicate with one another, that there are certain roles, there are certain positions that in almost every job, in almost every station in this country, that those words should ring true for every individual, whether you're at the lowest rung in a company or you're at the highest. It doesn't matter. Well, whatever spectrum you are in the world, duty, integrity, honesty, respect, loyalty. We've watched where there are companies who turn around and, they let go of employees that have been with them for 20, 30, 40 years because they don't want to pay the money. They've got profit margins to make. They've got to shake the books. We've got relationships with people where sometimes we build relationships. Like, I think probably one of the craziest ones that happens, and I think there's a lot that it's been difficult for me to sometimes let go of the rungs and everything like that in terms of a relationship with a father and a child, where once that child is raised up and outside of the home, sometimes we as parents feel that those kids are indebted to us because of the fact that of all the sacrifices we made for them. And so we believe that they're indebted to us and they should be loyal to us regardless of whatever happened. That's the reason why we feel so betrayed when they do something wrong to us or they leave under crazy circumstances. But we don't own them. We don't own them. We own no one. Now, we have a responsibility to raise the children. We did bring them into the world by God's grace. But once they're adults, there's nothing we can do. Once they're 18 and they're adults and they're outside of the home, there's zero that we can do to control the circumstances of whatever happens with them. And now there is a contract, there is an indentured contract, an unwritten indentured contract that when you live in my home, you basically, your obedience is the price you pay for the blessings to be in my home. Until you graduate, until you are out on your own, providing for your own, paying for your insurance, paying for your food, paying for your education, paying for everything. Thank you, Melissa, for joining. Until that happens, you're indebted to me. Oh, yes, you are indebted. We're providing food for you. We're paying for electricity. We're paying for all these other different things. We're paying for the mortgage. We're paying rent. We're paying all this stuff. So there is a level of indebtedness that actually comes with this. And actually indenturedness that comes with it when you're living in my rules. Once you come out of the house and you leave, there is a level of indebtedness that takes place because of the fact that, any person with common sense would say, Mom, Dad, I really appreciate everything that you've done for me to provide for me and allow me to get to where I am right now. Thanks, Grace and Scott, for joining. There's a level of where we see that you've raised me up, you took care of me, you changed my diapers, you got me off to school, you helped me learn to ride a bike, helped me get my first job or drive a car or all these different things. There's a level of indebtedness that kids have towards their parents, but it's not indentured. It's not indentured, so that once we as adults can recognize how to remove ourselves from the things that we believe that are due us, the things that we believe that are due us and that we should have regardless, it makes relationships a whole lot easier. And in due time, if people decide that they want to come back and they want to build a relationship with us, it's cool. We can go from there. Yesterday, hey, Jamie, thanks for joining and being part of the program. Yesterday, I had visited a couple of, we went to a couple of open houses, and it was very interesting just to see the relationships of the different individuals, from the students who have graduated to the parents, family, friends. And it was just very interesting studying and watching and just noticing the patterns of how people had like this sense of community and appreciation for one another. But the second one I went to was with my coworker, and my coworker's dad has flown in from out of state and spending some time. And, I've seen few, but I've never met a dad more proud of his son than I saw yesterday. My coworker's dad's a pretty cool cat too. He's a pretty cool cat. It was a great time sitting there and talking to him. And it was just so weird watching this relationship that you would figure that it was the son who would be forever indebted to the dad, and it would be the son lifting up the father so much. But I sat there and I watched the father who provided for the son sitting there basically showering the praises downwards instead of upwards. So it showed that there was a level of mutual respect, because that's exactly what he said. He said to me, you know what? My son is the kind of son any father or every father should want. We agree almost on everything, but the things that we don't, we're cool with. We're good. It doesn't destroy the relationship. I sat there and I watched it. I was like, holy cow. Because I watched that, and I watched an interaction, and I was blown away because of the fact that I think that there is something missing where I see that politics, movements, a lot of these different things draw us away from what true relationship, indebtedness, and ingratitude looks like. When we come back from the break, I'm going to start jumping into some of those different things. When we get back, we'll talk more. Until then, talk to you on the flip side. So for the next 2 minutes, you'll be giving yourself the ability to just go off and use the potty. If you haven't done it, or maybe you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 cups of American Pride roasted coffee, I say right now is a good time to release the pressures on your bladder. And that'll make you less sadder. Oh my goodness, too much fun. And my princess comes in to bring me a cup of water that I can enjoy. High quality H2O. High quality H2O, and I appreciate that. Holy moly guacamole. Yes, I will bring the audio back that you can enjoy during the break. But for now, maybe you just need that peace and quiet, and you just don't need the silliness of me messing you up during the break. So you've got less than a minute to go. So make sure when you come out of Curtis says, you gotta fight for your right to party. Or party. Holy moly guacamole. Yes, I am alive, I'm well, and I am laughing and having a whole lot of fun here. So this is good, and we're going to have some serious fun here. We are 20-second countdown before we're back with some tantalizing Battle for Freedom that I'm triggering change one heartbeat or one potty break at a time. Too much fun. Too much fun. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo 5 Radio. I appreciate every last one of you as we get back to Battle for Freedom, and where we're triggering change one heartbeat at a time. Listen, if you haven't, do me a favor, go to AmericanPrideRoasters.com. It's the official coffee of Mojo 5 Radio. Go to NewLifeHolistics.com. It is your chance of biofeedback therapy. Please do so and share it out with as many people as you possibly can. So today I'm talking about the idea of indebted or indentured, profiling service and loyalty. In the first half, we talked about the shootings that have taken place this past weekend, and unfortunately, the media is not indebted to the truth. They're indebted to a narrative. They are basically indentured to a narrative because they get paid following that narrative. Right now is the rage of everybody being cued of what's going on here, and there's no loyalty to truth. That's the reason why, again, as we sit here and we look at all the different stories that are removed, as if we remove all the labels, if we remove every label, if we remove every modification to a story, and just allow the plain data to be given, that it gives everybody the ability to remove those labels that offer bias, because labels produce bias, or those who are not committed to the truth are easily influenced by bias and misdirection and misinformation. And so what we do is we have to have a profile of almost every story, of almost every situation that takes place, to make certain what are the facts here and what am I to decide. As they sit there and they choose to lean you on, again, this idea, how convenient, so quickly. NIGGER is on the rifle of this shooter in Buffalo. And all of his loyalties. We have all this stuff. We have all the pictures. We have mugshots. We have everything. But if the shooter was a different color, it would be almost a full day, if not a week, before we knew who the individual was. That speaks volumes. That speaks volumes. But part of this whole idea of indebted and indentured and profiling service and loyalty actually sparked from a different conversation I had over the weekend. Be careful, Amy. I had a different conversation with someone. You remember last week when I shared with you about the whole idea of a former co-host that I was on radio with, who basically was committed, was a full-on Trumper, Trump supporter, and unfortunately, in the process of being a Trump supporter, she gets attacked. Yeah, here you go. Let me bring up this. Let me bring up this image here, and I'll build this one here because of the fact that this one is very interesting because of who this individual is. Because the knives are coming out. The knives are coming out now in terms of this young lady, Kathy Barnett. I was on the radio. I was on the Wayne Dupree network with her as we were talking years ago. And the reason why I bring this one up is because of the fact that here it is. Kathy Barnett basically says that she's a Pennsylvania Senate candidate and says Republicans suck at picking candidates after Trump-backed rival Dr. Oz causes for her to be disqualified from Tuesday's primary over anti-Islam tweet. So we're actually going to spend some time with this one here. See, because you remember when I say to you, the Bible says all things are permissible, but not all things are beneficial. So let's get into this thing here. I'm going to actually switch over because I'm talking about the knives are coming out. The knives are coming out, and it's really, really bad. So let's go over to this screen here, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see exactly what's going on. This is from the Daily Mail. This is from the Daily Mail as we go through and we start looking at this. So we're going to start all the way at the top. So she sits here. She says she finally held her rally. Okay, she finally held a rally with the supporters ahead of the May 17th primary, which is tomorrow. Journalists were reportedly barred from entering the Bucks County, Pennsylvania event. The military veteran is locked in a tight Republican Senate primary race with the former hedge fund manager David McCormick and TV personality Dr. Oz. On the same day, Oz took aim at Barnett for tweeting that pedophilia is a cornerstone of Islam in 2015. She denied making the statement, but is still live on her Twitter profile. It's still live on her Twitter profile. It's still live on her Twitter profile. Here's another one. Segment of Islam. TruthExchange-so.com. Vote Democrat. We need your help to kill you. I mean, so you remember that whole idea when I tell you that you can tweet and you can say whatever you want to? You remember when I said that you can tweet and you can do whatever you want? There is no reason for you to be worried about this, right? Until it comes and bites you in the rear, right? See, right now, a lot of you will sit there and say, oh, it doesn't hurt me. And if you're a snowflake, move on. Well, let me go back actually years back in New York when I still lived in New York before moving here, when I was in a lot better shape than I am now. But I'm getting back to what I was, more than 26 years ago. And I was very vain, and I go to the gym all the time, and I had no problem walking around in shorts and, my 29-inch waist and -10 body fat. Muscles bulging everywhere. So before the age of cell phone, I'd walk around the corner to the public telephone. This was actually one of those weird doohickeys. Many of you youngins don't recognize what these things are. You may see a few around, but there were these machines that we would actually put change in and actually call people if we had enough change to do so. So I'd walk around and I'd go over to one of them, and I remember my dad, he used to make fun of me. He'd say, he would say to me, you know what? You're walking around there without a shirt on in public. And he's like, people can take pictures of you, and when you run for office, if you want to be president, it can hurt you. I'm like, Dad, please let it go. Oh my goodness, let it go. My dad was ahead of his time. He was ahead of his time as a conspiracy theorist. He was many other different things, but oh my goodness, he was pretty funny. Because I was like, dude, lame. No one's really caring about me walking around just in my shorts, going to a public telephone. But we're in the age of the internet. In the age of social media, in the age of digital data stays where it's at, guess what? Um, yeah, it's too funny, Carolyn. You sit here and now you have to deal with, was I right in saying that? Was I right in saying that? And no, they were not boot shorts, Scott. So for those of you who are definitely messed up with the imagery and going completely off track, there you are. Enjoy. Have fun with that imagery. But I sit here and I look at, and again, many people think we can do and we can say and we can do whatever we want. We have that freedom. It's my freedom. I'm going to do it. I'm going to broadcast my defiance against authority, and I don't care what you say. Well, now you have done that. Now you have done that. And now the very person that you are backing is attacking you. Not only are they attacking them, because there was another story out here where, again, let's look at this one here. We're going to move with Kathy. Continue to pray for her. Continue to pray for her. But this whole idea that you could post whatever you want, it's going to come back and it's going to hurt you big time. It's going to hurt you big time. And it's very sad because, again, people keep thinking. And I'm not a big media-ite person, but I had a friend who actually shared, let me see if I could find this image that was, shared. Yes. Let me find this one here. And this was from Steve Bannon. I'm going to put this one over to my right because this is key. This is the whole purpose of this broadcast. Yeah, let's work with this one here. Pence, the coward and traitor, now openly challenges Trump in Georgia. Pence openly defies Trump and announces plan to campaign for Kemp or whoever it was, right? Now, before we get into this, so I'm going to let this one sit in your head. We're going to just roll back for a second, if you will, work with me as we talk about Kathy for a second, Kathy Barnett. So one of my friends or friends of the family shared she shared information about Barnett and calling her a radical right progressive and everything like that. Let me help you understand something. There's a lot that I may not agree with Kathy on, but radical right progressive, that's zero allegiance to the truth. Does she lean right? Yes, she definitely leans right. If there's any error in her part, is that she may lack some of the what's the word for it? Discernment, and what's the word for it? What's the other one? Talking about taking the ability of taking sides, of being biased. She may lack some discernment. But to call her a far-right, ultra-MAGA thing, no, that's wrong. She had great allegiances to Donald Trump, which was shameful. I mean, sad, but that was her decision. That was her choice. But to call her a far-right, to call her a far-right fanatic, no. She got a lot of other issues, but that definitely isn't one of them. So that's one of the things that really hurts me, because as much as I may disagree with her and we parted on bad terms, I don't care for the misrepresentation of who they say she is. And so this friend of the family said to me, well, Trump said it. Why would he lie? Why would he lie? That is a statement that I've heard over and over and over again from people who are completely sold out. Completely sold out to Trump. Why would he lie? Let me help you understand something. Me, Watson Prunier, of the United States of America, I have, on occasion, lied for my own benefit. And anyone else who tells you that they have not done the same thing too, they're lying. They are lying. So this idea and this concept that Trump wouldn't lie, that Trump wouldn't deceive, is a very dangerous platform. It's the same thing with what we see with people who blindly follow the Democrats, who blindly follow any Barack Obama. It doesn't even have to be the Democrat presidents. Andre Carson here in Indiana, Democrat congressman. Lori Lightfoot, Gavin Newsom, Bill Belichick. Sorry. I don't know where that came from. But I mean, you sit here and you watch this thing that she was completely just floored with the idea that Trump would lie. I said because of the fact that we yes, Carolyn, the list goes on, and they don't have to be Democrats. They could be Democrats. They could be Democrats. They could be Republicans. They could be Libertarians. Third party, independents. It doesn't matter. Every last person lies. And if they say that they don't, they're lying. They are lying. So it was really sad to see that there's this allegiance. There is this indenturedness to Trump. And I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, what did he pay you? He was only in office for 4 years. There is this undying devotion. There's this undying devotion, and it doesn't matter who is there. There's this undying devotion to whoever sits in this place. Whoever sits in this place. Whether it's Clinton, whether it's Bush, whether it's Obama, whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, there's this undying devotion. But you know what? I'm sorry. For those of you who have served, for those of you who know the language, that know the language of what honor, integrity, and duty means, is serving God and country. Serving God and country. Not God and man. We serve God, and honestly, we remove country, and we serve God, and country and man are taken care of. But for some strange reason, we've put this allegiance to fallen individuals, and they expect this. They expect this. This is the one that let's go back to this one before I go to. I've got to go back to this one. I'm sorry. Where in the bleep is the loyalty? Former GOP congressman destroys Trump in one of his earliest in a fiery rant for refusing to endorse one of his earliest backers. Prominent longtime supporter of former President Donald Trump is blasting him for treating loyalty as a one-way street. Boom. In a scorching rant following Trump's endorsement of Doug Mastriano in the Pennsylvania governor race, former Pennsylvania Congressman Tom Marino buried the ex-president for backing Mastriano rather than former Representative Lou Barletta, who was one of his earliest supporters in Congress. One of his earliest supporters in Congress. It's a one-way street. See, and you have to understand that loyalty is a two-way street. Loyalty is a two-way street. It's almost there's almost some form of an indenturedness, an unwritten indenturedness between the two parties. That we agree in this mutual relationship that we're together, that we're going to have this mutual respect that we have for one another. You know what is it? I rub your shoulder, you rub my shoulder. You're starting to realize some of the people who just only wanted you to scratch theirs while they laid down on the table. They had no desire of lifting up their arms to basically reciprocate the kindness being extended to them. And Trump is one of them. He's one of those individuals. And if you didn't see that happening, Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles has better vision than you. See, regardless of the media's failure to be loyal to the truth, Trump is not a racist. Let me repeat that. Trump is not a racist. If anything more than anything else, Trump is an opportunist. He's not a racist. He's an opportunist. And one of the things that you have to be very careful is with many people who are opportunists, you have to understand what is it they do, what are they in there for the seek, and what are they trying to grab from the situation. If there's no desire for mutual blessings for one another in this, then you have to kind of be careful. You have to be careful of the kind of relationship that you're getting into. Now, it's a little bit different on the side for marriage. Because there's that agreement that there would be, a mutual benefit for all parties involved. But for us as Christians, it's a little bit different. There's a little bit different on that side, though. Why? Because of the fact that we recognize that we have to allow the Spirit of God to operate in us even when it's not operating in our spouse. And that's even if our spouse says that they are followers of Christ. So there are times where while we would hope that our spouses will be indebted to us and reciprocate the kindness and love that we have given to them, not out of indenturedness, but out of indebtedness, of owing us that reciprocated gratitude and affection and appreciation. But they're not indentured, and I think that's why many marriages will struggle. Because of the fact that some spouses feel that their spouses should be indentured to them. That's not the way that it works. But for some strange reason, we see more indenturedness from these political figures that basically believe that they should be worshipped and you give. And while there are things that were done by the former president in his 4 years, that did not make us indentured to him. That did not make us indentured to him. Let's get it. I really want to talk about Patrice Cullors, but I'm going to deal with her tomorrow. I'm going to skip her because I want to go back to something that I saw yesterday, following with what my friend said. So Steve Bannon basically says, Pence, the coward and traitor, now openly challenges Trump in Georgia. Pence openly defies announced plan to support campaign for Governor Kemp. The article goes on to Governor Kemp. Okay? Now, you can hate Kemp all you want because he certified the election results, blah, blah, blah. But there is this indebted flavor of language that's going on where people feel you should have supported the president of the United States of America. No, not the country. You should have supported Donald Trump. I mean, look at the language that we're seeing here. Pence, the coward and traitor, now openly challenges Trump. Look at that language. Look at that language. That right there is probably should be the most alarming language you've ever heard of in your life. Openly challenges Trump? I mean, you would literally think that Trump was God. You would think that Trump was king. You would think that Trump was everything that mattered and that doing anything against him was clear blasphemy. He openly defies Trump. I mean, literally, to say that you defy Trump basically puts Trump in the position of an authority, of ultimate authority. This is problematic. This is really sad. No matter how much you may hate Pence for not doing what you thought he should have done, even though Trump ran a crappy campaign in 2020, and he's still running a crappy campaign now by just insulting people. This language here that basically says that he openly defies Trump. He has lifted up Trump as king, as God and king. And this should be alarming. This is just as wrong as the open blind allegiance to if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. This is the 2022 version of that. This is the 2022 2022 version of, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. If you don't worship Trump, if you don't bow to the totem of Trump, you're not American. You're not a true patriot. No. It is pledged to God and country, not God and man. And this is the problem where we have run into, we need to profile service, we need to profile loyalty and understand what is it you're doing, why is it you're doing, and who's getting glorified out of this. Because if God is being glorified out of this, our service and our loyalty speaks volumes, and it leads others into following said way that brings the benefit to all involved, those against and even those for. That everyone is blessed in the process of us honoring God first. Everyone gets blessed. Even the ones who hate him still walk in blessings if we abide by his principles and do what he tells us to do. But when we put our allegiance to a man, when we put our allegiance to, listen, if I were ever to run for office, I appreciate the support that you would give me. But the moment that I break my promise, the moment that I compromise my integrity in office, stop supporting me. Honestly, I'll tell you that if you continue to support me, unless I'm willing to openly say, please forgive me for my role in what I did here, and if the offense is egregious enough, I should step down. But if it's a forgivable offense that we move on and we go from there, fine, so be it. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting me in my ability to repent of my sins and seek your forgiveness. Continue to lead on. But the problem is, if I fail in one, I may fail in others. We need the perfect leader to guide and direct us. That's God. He's the only one. He's the only one who we should be indentured to. He's the only one we are indebted to. For those of us, and yes, indentured slaves. Look, what is it? Jude says it. James says it about the idea of being bond servants to Christ. We are bond servants. We are indentured to him. Why? Because he paid a price for us. And our lives, Romans 12:1 and 2, being the living sacrifice, daily renewing our minds for basically being in a prostrate position, saying, thank you to God. Let me be your vessel for your glory. I am indebted to you for what your son did for me on the cross. That is the only person that we should ever be indebted to, not to political figures. But this language right here, it should scare the living bleep out of you, because it is not what should be coming out. It should not, it should not be the language that we hear right now. Pence openly defies Trump. That's scary. That's scary, because it's the same language we hear from Democrats when we don't capitulate to their demands. It was the same language we heard that if you don't get a jab, you don't have a job. It's the same exact language. If you don't do what the government says, we will make you pay. And this language from Bannon, we always had concerns about him. This clearly shows right now the language of run, run, run. When you have acolytes like this that basically threaten or even hiss and huff at people who don't bow the knee to Trump or to other political leaders, that's when you know, if the acolytes are saying this and there's no open rebuke from the leaders, stay away from that leader with everything that you have. Stay away from that leader as everything that you have. You remember when we were saying that Donald Trump should have openly rebuked what was happening during the January 6th situation? Here's a chance for him to rebuke what Bannon has said. When Donald Trump had a chance to rebuke what Lynn Wood and Bannon and others said about Mike Pence, he remained silent. That's enough right there to show you he's not a man of character. He's not the leader that we need. He's going to be the leader that causes us to bleed. We're going to bleed horribly if we don't humble ourselves and seek to find someone who seeks to honor God. Until then, our indebtedness will be to further damnation that we rightly deserve. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle4Freedom. Brad Staggs and Daily Mojo's up next.